Welcome to Module 3, where we will focus on governance, the structure that ensures your reporting is controlled, reliable, and accountable. You'll learn how to define clear ownership, roles, and processes so that data is not only accurate but also properly reviewed and approved before it is reported. This module focuses on governance. By the end, you will be able to assign ownership, enforce accountability, and apply decision rules using SFSIR. What you're seeing here is not just a reporting issue, it's a governance gap. In practice, when there is no clear ownership of data, everything becomes reactive. You start seeing different numbers in different reports, last-minute reporting cycles, errors being discovered too late, and no clear accountability when something goes wrong. Now think about the consequences. If a number is incorrect, who is responsible for fixing it? If a report is late, who answers for that delay? In many organizations, the answer is unclear. And when responsibility is unclear, accountability disappears. This is where risk starts to build, not just operationally, but reputationally. Because decisions are being made based on data that is not fully trusted. Governance is often misunderstood as guidance or best practice. But in this context, governance is not optional, it is enforceable. It answers four critical questions: who is responsible for each metric? Who is accountable for the outcome? What process must data follow before reporting? And how are decisions made when issues arise? In practice, governance is what turns your reporting process into something controlled and reliable. Without it, everything depends on individual judgment, and that leads to inconsistency. This is where governance becomes practical. Every single metric must have one assigned owner. Not multiple people, not a team, one person. That person is responsible for collecting the data, updating it, and ensuring its accuracy. Now here's the key shift. Instead of asking, where does this data come from? You start asking, who owns this data? That one change introduces accountability into the system. Let's apply this to a real example. Take a metric like monthly energy usage. Don't just assume someone is managing it. Explicitly assign who is responsible for capturing and updating the data. Then ask, why is this person the right owner? In practice, the best owner is closest to the data source, able to verify its accuracy, and involved in its day-to-day management. This step turns ownership from a concept into a decision. Ownership alone is not enough. You also need to define roles across the entire reporting process. This is where the SFSIR framework comes in. Responsible, the person doing the work. Accountable, the person who answers for the outcome. Consulted, those who provide input. Informed, those who need to be updated. Now the most important rule here is, there must be one accountable person per task. Not multiple, not shared, because accountability cannot be divided. This distinction is critical and often misunderstood. Ownership means doing the work. Accountability means answering for the result. In practice, someone might prepare the data, but someone else is accountable for ensuring it is correct and fit for reporting. If this distinction is not clear, problems arise. Because when something goes wrong, no one knows who is responsible for resolving it. Now we bring ownership and roles into a structured process. A proper reporting process follows a clear sequence. Data is collected, then validated, then consolidated, then reported, then approved. Each step must have defined roles. This ensures that work is completed consistently, issues are caught early, and accountability is maintained throughout. Without a defined process, reporting becomes unpredictable. Validation is one of the most important control points in governance. Before any data is reported, it must pass basic checks. In practice, this means asking, does this number match the source file? Has it changed significantly from the last period? Is there a clear explanation for that change? If any of these checks fail, the issue must be escalated. This step prevents errors from reaching final reports. And importantly, it shifts error detection earlier in the process, where it is easier to fix. Let's make this concrete. For each step in your process, roles must be clearly assigned. For example, data collection, handled by the data owner. Validation, handled by an analyst, with oversight. Reporting, prepared by the analyst. Final approval, handled by a program lead. Now notice the pattern. Work is distributed, but accountability is clear at each stage. This prevents bottlenecks and reduces reliance on one person. Governance is not complete without timing. A strong process includes clear deadlines. For example, data submission by the 5th, review by the 8th, final approval by the 10th. Now here's the key point. Each deadline must have an accountable person. If deadlines exist without accountability, they will not be met consistently. Timing turns your process into a disciplined system. This comparison highlights the impact of governance. In weak systems, there is no clear ownership. Data exists in multiple versions, and errors are discovered too late. In strong systems, ownership is clearly defined. Accountability is enforced, decisions are controlled, and issues are resolved early. This is the difference between reactive reporting and controlled reporting. These failures are extremely common and often overlooked. They include no ownership, no review step, unclear processes, over-reliance on one individual, no clear approval authority, and no escalation process. Each of these creates risk, but together they create a system that is unstable and unreliable. Now let's focus on what you can do immediately. Start by assigning one owner per metric, one accountable role per process. Then add a mandatory validation step, a clear escalation rule, and defined reporting deadlines. These actions can be implemented quickly, and they create immediate improvement. Now apply this to one report. Don't try to fix everything at once. For that report, assign ownership, define accountability, add a validation step, define escalation, and set a timeline. This creates a controlled process, even on a small scale. And once it works, you can expand it. Governance is not just about internal control. It directly affects how your organization is perceived. Strong governance improves donor confidence, supports audit readiness, builds board trust, reduces reputational risk, and ensures decisions are based on accurate data. Without governance, even good data can lead to poor decisions. Now let's apply everything in a real scenario. A monthly report is being prepared, but problems occur. A key metric is missing. Data is inconsistent across reports, and the submission deadline is missed. Now look at the root cause. This is not random. It's the result of no clear ownership, no validation process, and no escalation structure. To resolve this, apply governance principles. For missing data, assign responsibility and accountability. For conflicting data, use the defined source of truth and assign decision authority. For missed deadlines, identify who is accountable and enforce escalation. And finally, define a validation check that would have prevented these issues. This is how governance becomes practical. A strong solution applies structure. Missing data is addressed by enforcing ownership and escalation. Conflicting data is resolved using the source of truth and clear decision authority. Missed deadlines are managed through accountability and enforced timelines. And all data is validated before reporting. The key principle here is this: issues are resolved through defined roles and rules, not assumptions. To close, ownership creates accountability, process creates consistency, review creates reliability, and strong governance reduces risk. If these elements are in place, your reporting becomes controlled, predictable, and trustworthy.